Okay, no surprises in Cardiff. The only surprise is that it's quite chilly in Cape Town and that you seem to have flu-like symptoms.
I'm impervious to any viruses, mate. Nothing can get to me.
Why are you blowing your nose all over the place? Runny nose, coughing. You got some toilet paper on the left that's not in the screen.
I'm strong like Russia.
I don't know if Russia's that strong at the moment, but we'll leave politics out of this, as we often get told. Cardiff, no surprises. Bath, Johan van Graan, glad for him.
Yeah.
They pumped Lyon. Those French teams traditionally don't do well away from home. Although Bordeaux, it's the team you called from the beginning to win and to potentially do the double. They're in second place in the top 42 games to go. They can still be caught for third by Toulon, but they can't actually get one. Top two don't play in that first playoff. They kind of rest. 28-20 against Northampton Saints. It certainly wasn't the drama of the year before when it was Leinster and Toulouse. But I felt the best team in the Investec Champions Cup won the competition.
Agreed. Yeah, Bordeaux definitely quietly been coming on the whole season. Like you said, they're contenders to win the top 14. And some great storylines in there between Louis Biel-Biarri and Damien Penau and Maxime Luku, all those guys. There's some, guys who wouldn't really have been major on the radar, especially a guy like Maxime Luku, for him to kind of, I suppose, in the twilight of his career, do what he's done, be MVP in the Champions Cup final. That's pretty serious stuff. So well done to them. For me, the takeaway from that was how Bordeaux spent the post-match and the parade talking about Henry Pollock, mate. He got completely inside their head. And I'm a big fan of this guy. He's a bit of a disruptor, and I think he's going to be great for rugby.
Well, anyone with a Pollock surname in South Africa, we are fans of. But he's a rugby Pollock. He's not a cricket Pollock.
Yeah.
I enjoy his play. He's good. He came up to Loftus when they beat the Bulls 30-21. Him and Cameron Hanekom had a good go at each other. It was like a proper Springbok England, two very good youngsters going for each other. I think England needs more of that kind of player. And I like a guy who backs himself. There's a bit of Skinstad in him with a bit of a Rassie Mongrel in him.
Yeah.
Bit of a combination of the two, or maybe closer to a Jean Smith and a Skinstad. Likes to celebrate, gets his team going. Also, buoyed by youth. 20 years old, I think he can be hugely successful in the Lions if he stays injury-free.
Yeah.
You'd back him to make that test team. It's kind of like what the game needs is 20-year-olds who come on the scene and they just blitz it.
Especially in the Northern Hemisphere.
I'm very decisive. When I watched the game, I thought, good start from Northampton, but Bordeaux were always in charge. But just after halftime, Pollock scores and they go 27-20 up. It becomes a very different game.
Very much so.
Rightly called back, but kudos to Bordeaux, and I really do. I mean, Penno, 14 tries. It's a record. He is among our Stecco power plays of the week. Stecco sustainability, poor generators and all those things. Visit them. They're good supporters of the show.
Yes.
And we have every week we look at moments across the globe, not just in our leagues, but across the globe to see who kind of impressed us. What were the moments? You had Pollock. Even though it was disallowed, that try as a Stecco moment. But that would have been like the generator failed, so we can't actually give it to him. But where the generator didn't fail was with Penno. 2 tries, 14 tries. He's got 37 tries and assists.
Insane.
For the season. That's club and country in all competitions. And Louis Biel-Biarri, I love that guy's name. And I love the way he plays. He's got 44 tries and assists. He's still got a game to go. He may or may not play it, or 2 games to go in the league, and then the playoffs, and could still make it to France to New Zealand for those 3 test matches. He could go past 50 tries and assists for club and country in this last calendar year. I think that'd be just magnificent. Jalibert is third there, 26. 21 assists and 5 tries. So with that kind of background, and I did enjoy Luku because it did show the world that there is another guy in France who can play number 9.
Exactly, mate. Yeah, exactly.
He was outstanding. Good attitude.
Yeah, he was great.
So Penno definitely up there. Scorer of 2 tries. One of them he basically just had to roll over. But the guy who's closest to your heart, and you've been a huge fan of him for many, many a year, he plays for the Crusaders.
Yes, he does, mate. It's not Marcus Springer, it's Sevu Reece. He's now the all-time leading try scorer in Super Rugby history. The try itself is probably not one worth watching, mate. You talk about Penno having to fall over. I think Reece, there were no passes involved in it. He picked it up from the base of a ruck and just sort of dotted it down over the line. But fabulous for him. I think he's a handful. Great finisher, pocket rocket, and very good for New Zealand rugby.
It is quite ironic that the guy who breaks the try scoring record, who's a winner, forages over from the bottom of a run.
Right next to the polls.
Yeah, and it kind of goes to the TMO, and we spent quite a few moments checking it out.
Yeah.
But kudos to him. TJ Perinara won't catch him. He's playing in Japan. Also an incredible feat for a 9 to be up there. The only 9s that you can really remember in history, it's like the US Van der Westhuizens, the DuPonts, and then TJ Perinara. Huge try-scoring ability.
Yep.
Izzy Folau, he's not going to play again.
Yep.
And the bus, Julian Sevilla, we don't know if he's going to play again, but he's in the mix. But I don't see him going past Severus because I think he's going to be around for a bit still.
Yeah, he'll be around for a bit. I think Severus obviously still wants to play for the All Blacks and a big season coming up. He's got lots of competition, so let's see.
It also doesn't harm the cause if you play for the Crusaders.
No, indeed.
So we will chat Super Rugby just now, down to the final round as well, and everything, every kind of permutation possible as well. So a bit of jeopardy in their league this season. 6 teams.
Blues apparently could be the first team to make the playoffs with a losing record.
Yeah, I mean that would sum it up, and they'd probably go on and win it.
Hey, we're back.
So, but yeah, just wrapping up the champions, the Investec Champions Cup and the EPCR Challenge Cup. Bath, they now are one away from a kind of treble, although it's not the treble, because the Investec Champions Cup is seen as the premier one in Europe. But Baron van Graan's son, Johan van Graan, Baron van Graan, you don't know, a loyal servant of Bulls Rugby and South African rugby, one of the big names in sports administration.
Yep.
And we've spoken about Johan van Graan at length a couple of shows ago. 60 years old when Heineke Meyer brought him into the Bulls setup to be technical analysis. He worked with Heineke, he worked with Frans Ludeker. He worked in that era with the Victor Matfields of the world, the Farid Prez, too big a rugby brains you're not going to get.
Yep.
Then went with Heineke to the box at 30 years old. Technical assistant coach with the forwards, won a World Cup bronze, and then went on to coach Munster at the insistence of Rassie Rasmussen and Jacques Nienaber. Stayed there for 5 years, was successful without winning any silverware, and then took on a Bath challenge, which we thought he was mad to do. They had just lost 64-0 to Gloucester. I think it was at the Rec. They were nowhere, and he managed to get them into 8th place the next season in the league. 2nd place the season after that, and they won the minor championship, as they call it, this season, finished 1st in the league.
Brilliant.
And everyone's touting him as a potential successor to Rassie post 2027, cut from the same kind of cloth. But great that he got the win, and he got the win so comfortably. And seeing Tommy du Toit there as well. Another guy, he played 42 matches in his first 4 seasons, and he's now played 99 matches in his last 4 seasons. It's just incredible. And 49 matches he's played for Bath in 2 seasons and scored 20 tries as a prop.
Not bad, mate.
Not bad at all.
Doesn't that disqualify you from the prop club?
Yeah, I'm 55 if you add the 6 tests he's played for the Boks in those last 2 years. But good for him to come through. Good to see our coaches, Johan van Graan, doing so well with Bath.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jacques Nienaber's in the mix with Leinster. And then Frans Ludeker in Japan. Beat Robbie Deans' team, the Wild Knights. They're into the final. Malcolm Marx, the big name from South Africa, in his team. But France kind of like getting on with his business under the radar in Japan. We forget he won 2 Super Rugby titles with the Bulls, was very successful with them. And just great to see the South Africans abroad doing so well in terms of coaching ability.
Glorious. And I think a lot of our coaches don't get the recognition they deserve. They're at the heart of a lot of team success, whether it's specialist coaches or head coaches, however you put it together. We've got guys all over the place. So it's not just the players, it's the coaches. And like you say, to have us in the running for the title there in Japan through Frans Ludeker is fantastic.
And great to see Malcolm Marx. He's really been strong the second half of the season particularly, where he tends to have started more games, kind of came off the bench in the first half. Great news for the Boks. He gets through this one. He definitely arrives as one of the form hookers for South Africa.
Yeah. You talk about South African front row forwards. Like, I think that is at the heart of South Africa's success, the Springbok success, is we produce tight head props like nobody else. I mean, like the number of guys that we could pick for a national team in the 3 jersey is insane. You look at Bordeaux, they had Tamafuna coming off the bench. Obviously, Van Graan had Tommy du Toit there. And the Boks have had Frans Malherbe, Vincent Koch, and. Thomas du Toit's in the mix there too. We've got Nettling Fashi. We've got a bunch of Oaks coming through the mix who are just fabulous tight heads. And Tlabakanye, the depth that we have in that always gives us this like set piece base, this foundation to play off. And I think that is fabulous for South Africa and long. Whoever's on the ground in the factory making these props come through, all those schoolboy coaches, keep up the great work because it's essential to South Africa's rugby future.
And some very, very good props coming through in the 20 ranks, SA Schools ranks.
Yeah.
So prop is the one area. Prop, I tend to say loose forwards. We produce props, loose forwards, and locks.
Lots of them, mate.
And
the heavies.
And if you can do that, you're always going to be in with a shot,
Yeah.
especially at World Cups, especially in knockout games. Someone picked in, the guys from Japan that we follow online on socials, they picked in a Japanese-based New Zealand 15 and said, how would they go against the All Blacks? And the first response was they get smashed because they don't have a tight five.
Right.
The only one there was Brody Retallick, who is still of international class. And that's the key. You know, you look at a lot of the good players overseas from other countries, they're in the backs. They're not in the forwards. And individually, they would add value to their countries.
Totally.
Richie Mohanga would be magnificent for the All Blacks. Aaron Smith would still have a role to play for the All Blacks. But it's up front. It's the grunt. It's the tight five. And that's what Rassie got right in 2018, carried on by Jacques, with Rassie still involved as National Director of Rugby. We went back to understanding our strengths. We're not having a 93-kilogram tight head prop who could run like a winner.
Correct.
We
Catch and pass.
We wanted a 125-kilogram prop who could scrum the crap out of any loose head.
Correct.
And not go backwards.
Yeah.
And we got that. We got that in bucket loads.
Yeah.
So looking at the Investec Champions Cup, the Challenge Cup, the biggest news that came out of all the meetings in Cardiff for me was 2028, there's going to be a World Club competition. 16 teams. It will be one from Japan. I think it's 7 from the Super Rugby.
Yep.
And the top 8. So that's the quarterfinalists of next season's Champions Cup, Investec Champions Cup, will go into that World Club tournament. That has to be motivation for the South African teams to say, we actually want to do well in that. And we may have to sacrifice the URC for the next season or back ourselves to just make the playoffs and get into that top 8, because the financial year of that World Club competition will be massive. And I think it's long overdue. People want to know Bulls against Crusaders, Crusaders against Leinster, but in a kind of structured competition. I don't know the detail of the competition.
Yeah.
But your thoughts on that, mate?
Yeah, I think if the cash is there, the interest will definitely be there from the clubs. I think if it's just for the right to be crowned World Club champs, I think that'll be of interest to guys, but I think the money is going to do the talking in this situation. So if you see the teams commit resources to trying to win that thing, it's because there's good bucks behind it, and hopefully that is the case. And I mean, a Crusaders Leinster final is something people have been talking about for, it feels like, a decade. So I'm sure Toulouse, Bordeaux, the Chiefs, obviously the South African contenders, all in the mix would make for some great rugby. It'll come down to where they're playing and who are the refs. But I mean, it doesn't get juicier than that outside of a World Cup playoff.
Yeah, I think a Bordeaux Chiefs at the moment.
Chiefs.
Yeah, a great game.
Oh, they're great, mate.
Played at Loftus.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
At the Highveld
Exactly.
on a dry afternoon.
Wow.
Both teams have 10 days to prepare.
Yeah.
The style of rugby they play, I mean, they've got incredibly gifted backs who just enjoy scoring tries. And scores, and both teams tend to want to do the outrageous all the time. The Stormers, for me, not quite there yet in terms of the balance between forwards and backs and the quality of the squad. They have a similar attitude, similar approach.
Yeah.
They're probably the most flamboyant team in South Africa in how they want to play the game.
Yeah.
But Bordeaux, for me, in top 14 in the Champions Cup, remember they put 66 points past the Sharks team.
Sure.
Albeit a second team, Penno scored 6 tries. So we tend to forget the Sharks went over there and took 66 points against Bordeaux. It's not to say that the best Sharks team wouldn't have gone over there and also kind of come unstuck quite badly. So they're a very, very good club side.
Yeah.
The big surprise was last year when they lost the top 14 final so heavily, 50-plus points to Toulouse, who had also won the Investec Champions Cup. But that's now behind us.
Yes, it is.
The top 14 will sort itself out. The French will do that.
Yep.
Whoever gets to New Zealand for those 3 tests, we don't know yet, because the first test does overlap with the top 14 final, and that always takes precedence
Correct.
in French rugby culture and French rugby history.
Yeah.
We've got the British and Irish Lions in Australia. They start off against Argentina as a warm-up, and then they fly two interesting matches there. Again, the Anzac 15, that's a combination of Australia and New Zealand. It celebrates the soldiers who fought, those who lost their lives in the world wars. And then we got a Pacifica side that will be playing combined with like the Aborigine side, called the People's Team as well. So those are two nice additions for that tour match to go with the Super Rugby franchise and the three tests.
Beautiful.
I still think, and we'll talk a lot over the next 2 months, I still think Australia is going to be a lot stronger than people would have anticipated a year ago. And I don't quite know how strong this Lions squad is going to gel into. But that's for another conversation. It's just great rugby coming up.
Yeah.
And then we have, at the completion of the URC, we obviously have 2 against Italy, 1 against Georgia. We'll warm up against the Barbarians on the 28th of June at Cape Town Stadium.
Yep.
And then we go into Rugby Championship. Obviously, the big one, we play Australia twice at home. We play New Zealand, Auckland, Wellington, back-to-back. Argentina, we play at home. And we also their home game is in London for us.
Yeah.
And then we go on the end of the tour. So it's going to be full on,
Glorious.
full on from the end of June. Before that, it's URC time. We're going to talk URC in depth now. But there's 2 things that I want to bounce off you. We spoke about the coaches, and then we speak about the box. Heineke Meyer, he's been in South Africa for a while now. Great mentor to a lot of people. Why is he not coaching the Lions? Why is a guy like that not involved in the Lions, for example? Cash, for all his attributes, has had 4 years. Hasn't improved that team. They finished outside the top 8 every year. How long does a suffering supporter say, that's what we will kind of go for? But why don't we use the quality of a guy like Heineke Meyer, Springbok coach, Super Rugby title winner? He's in Mossel Bay at the moment.
No, mate.
I'm going to make a push for that. I'm going to write a piece today on the Keo blog to say, Heineke Meyer, come and save the Lions.
The mayor of Joburg.
The mayor of Joburg.
I mean, it's not a bad shot. I mean, there's obviously more to it than that. Like, does he want that job? I mean, that's not the easiest job in the world. Massive opportunity for improvement there. You can only really go up if you can attract some good personnel. A proven winner, guy's methodical and knows how to win games. So, I mean, on paper, it seems like an obvious choice, right? You get a former Springbok coach who's won at Super Rugby level, won at Test level, and get in there to revive the Lions. I can't see, and I'm not just talking trash here with the garbage truck driving past, I can't see why that wouldn't be a good choice. I mean, there are lots of good coaches out there. I mean, you look at a guy like Johan Ackerman, who's done it in that environment before. He's also floating around looking for his next permanent job. There are guys to take. It's just about what is the budget and what is the mandate that coach has when he comes in. I think that's the key selling point for those guys.
I get all that, but what I don't get is when you have people who have got that IP and they are South Africans and they're in this country, why don't we use them? Why don't we involve them? They've been there, they've done it, they've been successful. When we do have teams that are struggling, and the Lions being a primary case at the moment, we all want them to do well. They're a South African team. You wear their jersey, you absolutely adore them. They speak a great game. They play 1 or 2 outstanding games, and then we get excited. Then they lose 5 on the trot, and then they finish 10th, 11th, 9th, and it's but for 2 or 3 players, but for 1 or 2 decisions. But nothing has really improved or changed in the way they play the game. So does it not need a hardened edge?
Mate, what did you have for dinner?
That's the creepy, mate. Sure it is. Told the guy with the angle rider to stay away, the leaf blower to stay away. The garbage truck came past. I've asked the dogs to stop barking, the cats to stop meowing, and the creepy pops up to say, what's going on, guys? But I mean, Heineke Meyer for me is the type of guy who can come to a struggling team
Totally, mate.
and absolutely fix them.
Yeah.
And restore that kind of credibility. He did that with Southwestern Districts. He then went to the Bulls. They were struggling when he got there, and he kind of turned them around. That first season, I think they won 1 match in Super Rugby was against the Hurricanes. There was a decisive moment in the 44th minute, I think, that changed it all. And then on from that, they really just gathered steam. Then they won that historic one, and Frans Ludeker then kind of took over and further won 2 more titles. But it's a shout out to Heineke Meyer. He's mentored so many coaches.
Perfect sense, man.
He had a poor ending to his international career. I say poor in the sense that there was decision making. Maybe the pressure got to him, as it does in every coach in that at that 3rd or 4th year. The Japanese result is something that will always haunt him. Dramatic semi-final against New Zealand, 2018, could have gone either way, but he did get a World Cup bronze. He did beat the All Blacks at Ellis Park. Outside of that, the All Black struggles that he had, and it was the greatest All Black team in their history.
Correct.
He had an 80+% win record against everyone else.
Yeah.
So it's a shout out to him. I think, why aren't we looking at him? Why doesn't he play a more active role? And kind of, I'll get on the blow team and ask him,
that.
you want to go to Joburg?
I like it, man.
No, I'm going to stay in Monster. But thanks for the shout out.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing. The other thing that I know that you're a big fan of is cheap tickets for test matches.
Oh,
I'm not.
Mate. Come on. I don't understand. I mean, look, everybody wants to go watch the box, but the stadium only takes a limited number of people, and it's basic free market economics. Like, if the demand for the tickets is high enough, if 20 million people want to go to the stadium and there's only 20,000 seats, then the tickets are going to be expensive. That's just how things work. Is it a pity that everybody that wants to go watch the box can't go watch the box? Sure. But I think that's the reality of the world that we live in, and that money is what keeps the box up there and keeps our best players employed and in top condition to win World Cups for South Africa. So that's just the way it is. That is the nature of business in pro sport.
It is pro sport. It's about the win. It's about the economics.
Yeah.
We get carried away with this Rainbow Nation, South Africa euphoria. The box are the people's team. There's no government support there. There's no government funding. My biggest gripe is that there's not a greater role that the government has played with broadcasters, with sponsors, to ensure that people can watch the box live on television.
That's a great
Watch them live at a fan park.
Yeah.
Watch them live at a club rugby stadium. Because the capacity for a ground is 50,000. We know when you take the corporate suites away, when you take the corporate packages away, you're probably looking at 20,000 tickets tops. 20,000. So if we go back to the Lions series, play behind closed doors, but everywhere in the world you go for test match, you go through a ballot system. It's not something South African. It's what you do for the big games of World Cup, what you do for all soccer's big events, rugby's big events. And we were oversubscribed, I think, for the Cape Town test, which would take 50,000. Now, you're thinking like 30,000 tickets are there. I think there were 300,000 applications for tickets. Okay,
At that price.
At every price.
Yeah.
From the highest right down to the lowest. Now, yes, there is a mindfulness in this country that the majority of people, and I'm not even talking race, because I can't afford the top tier tickets if I want to take a family of 4.
Yeah.
Then I'd watch it on television and get joy from that and braai. So, but I understand why they're charging that. The cheapest ticket when England played against Australia last November was 1,800 rand. That was your category 4 ticket. And then it went up to 2,2, 2,8 and 3,2. That's outside of those big premium packages. Now, how else do they have to make money? So if I can charge 1,000 rand for you to get into that door, and there's 50,000 people queuing and they're willing to pay 5,000 rand, economics says I'm a fool to let anyone in for $1,000.
100%. If anything, the ticket should be more expensive.
That's
because the demand is there.
I was surprised that those tickets haven't actually gone up a lot more, especially with the current standing of who we are. This is the best Springbok team in the history of the professional era, potentially ever. They're back-to-back world champions. They're rugby championship champions. And it doesn't matter who they're playing. It's you pay for the right to see them. And for that occasion, Beyonce comes to town. No one's going to complain about paying 3,000 rand for a ticket to see her.
Correct.
The Springboks are our Jay-Z's and Beyonce's. They are up there and considered to be the best. So I just wanted to get that off my chest.
No, mate, I'm 100% aligned with you in the way you think there. So it makes perfect sense to me. I mean, as much as again, if the stadium could house 1 million people and we could bring the prices down, great. But that's just not the reality.
I did write a column on Times Live for it this morning. And look, I'll get a lot of kickback and people will say to me, he's talking a lot of crap and just off you go. We don't have money. The Boks are our team. Without them, they would be nothing.
Yes.
Without a tight 5, they'd be nothing. Okay?
Yeah, exactly.
But without you, they'd still be a very good team. And there's a lot of supporters out there. And we must also lose this belief that you know, it's all about us as the fans. The fans play an important role, but the players play for themselves and they play to win. And when they have that cohesion, they are very successful. Yes, what they do affects us beautifully, and we always feel better about ourselves on a Monday morning. But the thing that riles me, well, it riles me and then it kind of irritates me and then I find it laughable, is the people who take to social media who have the biggest things to say. We're never going to buy a test ticket in any
Be
case.
there, mate.
They've probably never been to a game.
Correct. But they just want to be able to go if they want to, mate.
No, and they just want to be able to whinge and moan.
True.
And you know what the solution is? Make sure you have a mate who's got a good corporate gig.
Yeah. Yeah.
Make sure you get into his suite, or just make sure you have mates who have tickets.
Yeah.
A mate of mine, when I was growing up, once said he doesn't want to have a yacht. Just wants to make sure his best mate has a yacht.
I think that's everybody, mate.
Because he doesn't then have to worry about cleaning of the yacht.
Yeah, or
He just has to go
Yeah.
and visit.
Yeah.
So all 6 test matches last year, including Portugal and Bloemfontein, were absolutely sold out, and there was a demand ×2 in some certain places and ×5 in other places. The demand for that All Black test in Cape Town was ×5.
Yeah.
When it went out on the ballot.
Yeah.
And doesn't matter what they charged, they would have filled that up as well. And next year, when the All Blacks come to town for those 3 test matches, just know you're going to pay more. The 2 best teams in the world, the greatest rivalry, be prepared to pay if you get into that ballot, because I know so many guys who get on a plane and fly to a World Cup final and pay a lot of money for a ticket and an airfare and accommodation and don't see any scarmty in that.
Truth.
And now you've got the world champions at home.
Truth.
You can't have a freebie, guys.
Truth.
You can't have a freebie.
Truth.
Just like we're not going to have any freebies in this weekend's URC.
I was going to say, what are the ticket prices at Kings Park for Munster Sharks?
They can't give them away, mate. People think we dislike the Sharks. I don't know why.
Well, I grew up in Dubs, man. I loved the Sharks. They were my Andre Bear, Mark Andrews. Those were my guys.
Great team that, eh?
Oh.
All bought in, but great team. I mean, you are a Durban boy. People don't realize that.
I don't know if I fully qualified, but yeah, I did grow up there. So
Well, you went your whole, what were you, DHS and then Pinetown Boys.
Yeah.
So if you go to DHS and you go to Pinetown Boys and you wear Lions jersey, what does that tell?
I don't know, mate. Confused.
Confused. And you live in Cape Town.
Yeah, and I live in Cape Town.
No? I think you must be supporting the mighty Elephants.
Exactly.
But the Sharks, Munster, you know what I do like about these, outside of Leinster Scarlets, they're going to smash them, okay, in Dublin. That's like a gimme. And for those people who say, oh, Scarlets beat them. And there was a Leinster Academy side that went over, minus about 25 players, had nothing to gain, and they actually got done. For the rest, it's very interesting matchups because it's not as simple as saying home team wins. Because the matchups are teams that have troubled each other.
Correct.
Over time.
Correct.
One may have a historical greater winning advantage.
Yep.
But you take Edinburgh and the Bulls. Edinburgh were penalty kick away from beating them a couple of years ago.
Yep.
At Loftus. The Bulls have struggled in Edinburgh. They lost to them this season in the Challenge Cup, last 16. A game of 2 halves. Sean Everett's their coach. They got Duan van der Merwe. He's there.
Shoes.
Pierre Struman is there.
Yeah.
Always dreamed to be a Lion, that guy. But we thought it was the Lions up the road, not the British and Irish Lions. And then you've got Glasgow and Franco Smith and a few South Africans up against Dobbo's Stormers.
Yeah.
And then Munster the Sharks. I mean, those are exciting
They're juicy
matchups.
matchups, mate. They are very juicy matchups. I think aside from Leinster Scarlet, which you got to believe is pretty much a foregone conclusion, the other 3, you could make a case for either team winning in those. So I think it's going to be a great quarterfinals weekend. And I think that the playoffs of the URC are going to validate the whole season. I think we're in for a cracking end to the URC and an exciting finish. So looking forward to it.
What did you think of the top 8 placements? Do you think it was kind of reflective, or did you feel there was a team that maybe should have been there, a team that shouldn't be there, but by and large, just hit the mark?
No, I think they've hit the mark. As much as I sort of question some of the performances, you have to sort of applaud what the Bulls and Sharks have done to finish 2 and 3 in the league. You can't still be saying, oh, well, they haven't done this, they haven't done that. They're 2nd and 3rd on the log. They are hosting a quarterfinal, potentially hosting a semi-final. And it's fabulous, and the fact that both of those teams can get better must be terrifying to the rest of the teams in the competition. And then the Stormers' recovery from being absolutely blighted by injuries to book their place in the playoffs also. Equally spectacular. Pity the Lions aren't there, but great to have 3 South African teams in there. And then all those other teams that are there, with the exception possibly of Scarlets, they lurk with intent. Like Edinburgh can hurt you. Glasgow are defending champions. Leinster are arguably the most powerful team in Europe when they want to be. And then Munster have proven they can win on the road. So everybody's credentials are valid there. I think it's going to be a hell of a finish.
Yeah, so I mean, the Scarlets one surprised me big, and it was down to that game they got against Leinster and they won. No one would have picked that. If you'd sent the Leinster schoolboys over, you thought they would have won. Okay.
Yeah.
Benetton, I thought, were a team that I would have backed to make the top 8. They had that great win against the Warriors, second last round of the season, but then got smashed 56-5 at home by the Stormers, which again goes to your point of when the Stormers do turn it on, how good they can be.
Spot on.
And it was a game where they kind of went in with a fairly settled team and a mission at home. And to show how good that win was, that Benetton side got on a plane, went home, and destroyed the defending champions.
Correct.
Glasgow Warriors. Now, you talk about the Bulls 2, and congratulations. That's a great effort from the Bulls. Sharks 3, congratulations. Stormers 5, congratulations. The Warriors 4, captained by a South African, coached by a South African, and the team first coached by a South African, a World Cup winning coach in Jacqueline Harbour, and their player of the season is South African Erkir Seyman.
Yeah.
He's a fair to say we're top 5, mate.
We're doing okay, mate. We're doing okay.
I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah, it is incredible. It really is. I mean, if we went back to the sort of dawn of Super Rugby and tried to envision this kind of a future, you would have said, no, mate, you've been smoking something. We're in a really golden era of South African rugby.
And it is to enjoy. There's a guy that bumped into me at the spa yesterday up in Vryburg, just walking behind me, and he whispered in my ear, I love the show, and I had a chuckle. And he said, isn't it lacquer to be a South African rugby supporter, as he's walking to his car? And I said, it is. And I think that's the joy we must take out of it.
Yeah.
You and I have followed the game for a long time. We've written about it for a long time. And a lot of people say, if you really want to fall out of love with rugby or any sport, go cover it as a profession. Yeah. But if you really want to fall out of love with it, go cover it during during some of those darker days. Early 2000s. The unfortunate 2016, 2017 seasons, where we were 7th in the world, we were getting clapped by everyone. It just was an ugly period. Super Rugby, we're taking poundings. Cats were losing 64-0 to the Brumbies at the Bruce Stadium, mate. We've had our dark days, eh? Enjoy the good days. And I found it quite revealing watching the little team huddle of Moana Pacifica and Adi Sevilla, who's been outstanding for Pacifica this season. First ever voted for by the coaches, by the opposition captains, Super Rugby Player of the Year, Super Rugby Pacific. And he was in the huddle, and they just lost 85-7 to the Chiefs a week after beating Auckland Blues in the new Battle of the Bridge, in playing out of the North Harbour Stadium in Albany. And his message to the boys was, you get humble quickly in this game. Where were we last week? Where are we tonight? And we own it. He said to them, we own it. There's no one's, I get kind of goosebumps when I think it was delivered in such an understated tone. But he says, this game humbles you very quickly.
Truth.
And I think that's what Rassie's been saying to the South African public and to his players. It's been amazing. 12-11, everything worked. Barrett's kick goes over, everything didn't work.
Yep.
That's the fine margins. But when it does work and you're on the right side of the scoreboard, ride it. But don't ever think you've arrived.
Yeah.
Don't ever think it's yours and you're there.
Yeah.
Because it changes very quickly. And we went from 7 to 1 quite dramatically. 18 months. It's easy to drop back to 5 or 6 in these rankings.
Very easy.
You drop 3 or 4 test matches, you have a few injuries, a few retirements, and all of a sudden it doesn't look that good. So the messaging is, love it, be confident, but also show the humility in that it can change, and recognize what's out there in terms of the opposition.
Spot on, mate.
So on that basis, box by 10. Always! Stormers by 12 and box by 10.
Stormers by 12, you say, mate. They play Friday night. They're in Glasgow. Talk to me.
So my call out has always been box by 10, and obviously it's Stormers by 12. When I look historically at the matchups between Glasgow Warriors and the Stormers in that huge 7,000-seater Scottstown in Glasgow.
Yeah.
The average winning margin for Glasgow Warriors, and they've won all 3 matches there, is by 11 points.
Whew.
So my call of Stormers by 12 comes into effect, which means the Stormers will win by 1.
I love it, mate. That is beautiful.
They're going with an 11-point handicap against them.
That is
And I've got Stormers to win by 1. And it's a call based purely on the fact that I love the Stormers. Big Dobbo, live in Cape Town, always back them. But as you can see, they're playing the defending champions at home and with a huge injury list again in the season. They've come good with the players that are available. They're on a 4G pitch. They do tend to not produce their best on the 4G pitches. They went out at this stage of the competition last season. But something tells me that they can sneak it. And if they sneak it, it's going to be by 1 point.
Yeah.
And I'll take it.
I've got no doubt the Stormers can win this game. Glasgow have lost, I think, 3 in a row now, and 4 of their last 5, if I'm not mistaken. Nobody makes the defending champions lose 4 in a row. I don't think the Stormers are going to win this week against the defending champions at Glasgow. I would love to see them win, but I don't think it's going to happen. I've got Glasgow to win 21-18.
I've got the Stormers to win this game 26-25.
Beautiful, mate. I love it.
So I know Dobbo,
right.
I know Dobbo will be pleased. He'll take that. He'll put it on the walls and say,
Magic.
Zels says you can't do it.
Oh, that's great, mate. Fantastic.
I say you can do it. Go do us
Yes,
proud.
yes.
Us boys from Cape Town. Talk me through Durban, man.
Durban,
That
great
one worries
place.
me.
Great place, mate.
As a South African, it worries me.
Yeah, when John de Villiers was playing for Province and the Stormers, they'd come back every time that they lost in Durban and say, the ball gets so slippery up there in humid conditions. I always think, Jean, listen, bud, you've played there like 600 times. By now, surely everybody knows it's coming. And that point is even more true for the Sharks. How are you playing in Durban and somehow surprised by the slipperiness of the ball? It irritates me. I don't like that. I don't like it when they talk about that kind of stuff because it's cheap excuses. And that Sharks team is loaded with some really talented players. I have no idea which way this game's going to go this week. I'm going to pick it, but it could be a massive win for the Sharks. It could be a win for Munster. The way that I look at it is there's a lot of great South African Springbok players in that Sharks team, and on paper they should destroy Munster, who have travelled all the way across the world to be here to play at Kings Park. But this Munster team have the mongrel to win on the road. They've proven it before. And I just wonder about how many of those Boks are looking ahead to the test season and thinking, we'd love to win the URC, but I also want to be available because there's a lot of youngsters coming through here that are pushing me for my place in the Springbok setup. So I don't know how much of that actually factors into the mind of a pro rugby player, especially the more experienced ones. But I think it's something to consider. But I'm going to give it to the Sharks. I'm going to say the Sharks win this one 33-30.
33-30.
Yeah.
In Durban, such a high-scoring game. It was 9-3 with a minute to go against the Scarlets.
63 points.
63 points.
63 points.
Is it an afternoon or evening game?
Mate, it doesn't matter.
It does matter.
It is an early evening game.
It does matter. It matters in a big way. Hold that phone out. That's why Zels has a phone here, guys. He's not checking out other things. He's not disinterested. He's not waiting to get a chance to talk.
Although
every now and again to check out what time the game is.
No, mate.
Come on, boy. Tell me. Come on, boy. Tell me.
Not a rugby championship, mate. They're playing at 6:30.
6:30. It will never be 63 points.
63 points,
63
mate.
points. Do not put away 63 points.
What are you saying?
I say that Munster will win.
Woo!
And it's not...
You do hate the Sharks, mate. Just admit it.
I could never hate the Sharks. We are black. We are white. Gavin Rich tells me we are dynamite.
Yes.
It's one of those as well, obviously, because the bloodline is in Cork.
I love it.
The Keo pronounced their Kahan surname comes from Cork.
Right.
So there is that Irish that I've got to consider, and I have no bloodline that comes out of Durban. In fact, it's a place I go to and I tend to always get ill. Do you know certain places just agree with you,
Right.
and some don't? It's like when you're younger and you arrive at a place and you think, I could have a good time here. They're quite like me. Durban, everyone didn't like when I didn't like Durban, okay?
You've been eating at Grey Street again, mate.
Something like that, mate. But it's just never resonated with me. The Peter Stuyvesant kind of like people, the Peter Stuyvesant act.
Stuyvesant people, I love that.
It has changed a little bit now in terms of dynamics, but they're a side as well. I think if I grew up there and I supported them when they were in the B section, it would have been one thing.
You had to bring it up,
The
mate.
Banana Boys, and they got given the right
Yo.
into the A section. They bought off the Free State team. You talk about that great player, Andre Joubert. He wasn't exactly schooled and groomed in KZN, but you look at that quality of play and you just think, how are they struggling? But then I saw their behind the scenes video in the change room, and I realized why they were
Wow.
struggling.
That's shocking.
That was diabolical, eh?
It was, mate. It was. I mean, I love the initiative to share what's going on behind the scenes, but some of the stuff that was, I don't know, even having to tell the guys what the context of the game is 20 minutes before kickoff's not a great sign, mate.
I love Plumtree asking the drivers, the guys who are making the decisions and kind of like putting the team on the front foot. Andre, the drive. What's your message? What's your message? And he's like, we must stop dropping the ball.
Maybe it is that simple, mate. That's what
It is that
rugby
simple.
players. It's that simple.
I mean, when the Box won the World Cup in 2009, what was the secret to the success? Everyone saw it.
More points.
One, score more points, but also I won't say it as basically crassly as they did and
Yes.
brutally, but it was F them up.
Yeah.
Be stronger, be more physical, and make better decisions. The thing about this Munster team is they love, more than any South African team, they love being the underdog.
Yes, they do.
Okay, they love going on the road and proving people wrong. Not their own supporters, because their own supporters love them. Peter O'Mahony this is it. If they lose, that's his last game. He doesn't want to go out as a loser, okay? And that's proven in their last few games. Benetton had them for a good 60 minutes in Cork in front of 8,500 people. They were sort of, why did we bring this game to Cork?
Yeah.
Okay? But they finished strongly. They finished for him. He had the great finish at Thornton Park the week before that. He's there. Conor Murray goes. A lot of their players are going. They've been very good in certain games, but they're a team that doesn't easily go away. And we saw that when they played Bordeaux in the Investing Champions Cup. What was it, quarterfinal? They somehow fall back into that game and kind of, just for a moment in the last 6-7 minutes, you started thinking, hang on a second, these guys could actually do something.
Yeah.
Peter O'Mahony coming up saying, I think we can.
Rooty.
So I've got them to win a titanic struggle against the Sharks.
Give me the score, mate.
It's going to be 23-19 to Munster. And it really pains me to say that in terms of being South African. But I have no qualm saying it because of the Irish heritage.
Okay, lovely. Okay.
But to say I hate the Sharks is so not true.
So you
because
give the Stormers by 1 in Glasgow. You give the Sharks by 4.
hate is a very strong
Oh,
word.
mate. I can't believe it. That's beautiful. Okay. But I could see it happening. Even though the Sharks are, I think, 8-point favorites to win this thing, I could totally see that happening.
Comforted by the fact that I don't have to call a Lions defeat as well.
Yes, indeed.
They're not
Indeed.
playing if you don't know that.
Yeah, but you do have to call the game at Loftus between Sean Everett and Jake White.
Never in doubt.
Yeah, I agree with that.
South African coach will be a winner.
You called it. Give me the score.
The score there will be 34-26 to the Bulls.
Okay, so you got a 9-point win. I've got.
I've got an 8-point win.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Math wasn't my strength, mate. I have got a 35-15 win for the Bulls at Loftus. 20 points in it, mate.
You only giving Edinburgh 15. Have you not seen how the Bulls allow teams in near the end?
No. I think we may see some of that, but I think the Bulls are going to be comfortable winners. I think they are focused, and I think they are motivated, and I think Edinburgh's going to get the worst of them.
Look, the Bulls at home have been impressive in their last few games. We just want to see an 80-minute performance because they smashed teams early on and then they kind of let them back into the game. They've been good. I want them to win. If the Sharks win and the Bulls win, the semi-final is in Loftus. We know there's going to be a South African team in the final. So ideally, that's what everyone would want. But we know that you guys put a flutter down. You listen to Zels' opinion. That's why you know always wins the Champions Cup final. He always calls a French team. But there are some strange little dynamics going into these playoff matches. and that's why I do think the Stormers are good enough to box a win. Munster in the second season lost. They conceded 50 points against the Sharks in the then Investec Champions Cup. And then they went on this winning spree. They won 7 in a row in the URC league games. They managed to get into the playoffs. They went to Glasgow and they won. They went back home.
Ridiculous.
Then went to Dublin. Last minute drop goal, 16-15. Then got on a plane, came to South Africa, brought 5,000 fans with them.
And here's no
56,600 people at the DHL Stadium. The Stormers to do the back-to-back URC, thinking, what was the issue? This game's so easy. Everyone trumpeting them. Stormers up 14-7 at one stage. Jean Klein, South African. Ergia's name is South African. Ergia came on for the last 55 minutes and won Munster. He won Munster that final. He was outstanding. They won at 19-14. They have shown there's a blueprint to win it. Glasgow, on the road as well, flew to Loftus, were absolutely dominant in beating the Bulls in that final. So you can get on a plane from overseas and win away from home. The URC has shown that. It is possible. The Bulls went to Dublin in the first year and beat Leinster in the semi-final. So away teams can win. And I reckon there'll be 2 away wins and 2 home wins in the quarterfinals.
Superb.
So I've got Leinster to win comfortably against the Scarlets of Wales, who may wish they were never there. And then I've got the Stormers sneaking on Friday night. They kickstart the Thins. I think it's going to catch up with the Sharks. They've been getting out of jail all the time with these like really iffish wins. I think it's going to catch up with them against a team that's got dog and got mongrel.
That's a good call.
And that's the Munster one. I think too much class at home for the Bulls.
Yeah.
And more of what we saw in that second half when they played Edinburgh.
Yeah.
And yeah. And what's the other one?
You called all 4, mate.
That's
Done
it, mate.
Bulls, Munster, Stormers, Leinster.
And you've called?
I've gone Leinster, Bulls, Sharks, Glasgow.
All right, mate. You can see we're not biased here. We're not partisan. It's not all South Africans, but it is somehow because there's always a South African coach in the mix. Going away to Super Rugby, and a lot of people are giving me a lot of grief about this. When I say, guys, watch out, something's brewing. Something's coming from down under. New Zealand's going to be strong and Australia's going to be stronger. Just know that. Now, I do believe they play a different style of rugby to URC and Champions Cup, so I'm not comparing the styles. But when I look at the quality of player there and the quality of games, 2-3 years ago, I was like, they got problems. They don't have players at the moment coming through. And that could have been a throw over from COVID, their isolation. No one could come in and out of the country for 2 years. But there's just something that looks different this year in the way they're playing. Maybe it's because Australia are a bit more competitive as well. You can't take anything for granted either. Crusaders have been good. They go and play the Highlanders who are going to get the wooden spoon. And it comes down to 15-12. Highlanders could have snatched it 15-all in the last minute. Local derby. You get a Chiefs side who is rampant, but they have dropped games. And you've got the Aussies who are improving. So I like the fact that it's come down to the last round and it's, the Brumbies could still finish top. They could finish third.
Totally.
So I do think for the playoffs, home ground advantage is going to be everything. But I've enjoyed Super Rugby, and the quality of player that we've seen, it's not necessarily conducive to watching a tight 5 scrum. It's also not conducive to watch a forward-oriented game because most of the matches are played in summer conditions.
Yeah.
But I've enjoyed it. It's nice to see the Crusaders back, the Brumbies firing, but the Chiefs to me have been very good.
Yeah, the Chiefs have been very good. I think the story of Super Rugby has been Australia's resurgence. Like the Brumbies, the Reds, Waratahs have been up and down. But Australia have sort of done a little bit to rub away the memory of some really diabolical test results in recent times. And I think Australia are definitely going to be good competition for the British and Irish Lions. I think that series is going to be great. And that's going to come out of their newfound confidence from Super Rugby. So I think Australia are starting to find some pieces that were missing in the past. I think they've got a few weapons in the pack now that are starting to believe that they can do this. And I think that's going to make the Wallabies dangerous this season. And I think it's made for great Super Rugby also to have Moana Pacifica and Fijian Drua upset a few teams. I'm not 100% sure about New Zealand translating that Super Rugby form into the Test arena because I still don't see those big guns up front to reinforce that All Blacks team that has struggled in the last season or two. So I don't have the answers for New Zealand, but I think the Wallabies are going to be very, very much improved.
And I don't think the Wallabies are as soft as people
No.
trying to imply. I remember a couple of years ago I called them pussies. Well, just terrible. I got a bollocking. Even Rob Lowe was apologising to us on behalf of all South Africans. Morgan Tiranui got into me, mate, we can be tough, and I did apologise to them. And there are some toughies in that team. I like their loose forward mix. I think they can pick a very good loose forward mix.
Carlo
Rob Valentini, I like him. He's a good player. I don't know if they've quite got the 10, but James O'Connor could fill a role there. He's been doing well at the Crusaders. Good outside backs.
Maybe they should mesh the Wallabies and All Blacks, mate. Just make one team up.
They are going to do that for that Anzac game, but it's going to be guys who aren't involved in the current series. It's basically all coming out of Japan. Japan and those who don't make the sides.
Yeah.
But I've enjoyed watching Super Rugby just as much as I've enjoyed watching Vestic Champions Cup, Top 14, URC, even the Premiership games, some of the games there. There's some that I just think, well, Newcastle up against Exeter on a Friday night doesn't really get my blood boiling.
Yeah.
But when I've seen Harlequins on form, the way Bath's played, Saracens, Leinster, always in the mix, Bristol Bears. It's just good. It's good to be a rugby supporter at the moment.
Time.
And especially good to be a South African rugby supporter.
Indeed.